Well deserved.
Yes, but also, I mean, while you also talking about that particular area, you also have to look at young people today. The young people today that in fact are committing a lot of these crimes. 10 years ago, they didn't have any kind of programs.
Right.
And so now there's this movement to bring more recreational programs and bring more programs. Actually, in your district, you've got that CONCAT program, and most people don't know about that. Can you explain a little bit about that program?
So I don't know the program that well. I know that Eric Clemens is involved in it. I know it's in Science Park, and actually I am supposed to be setting up a meeting with them. But your point about these programs, let me say this. There are a lot of programs that people don't even know about, some of which aren't scalable, which is an issue. Some of which aren't scalable and could become scalable if people were talking to each other, which is really the issue. Community is not just about people living together, it's about people actually functioning together. And we haven't done such a good job of that. And so I've said to people who I worked with in the past when I was more in the activist organizer role, we need to actually do what we call ourselves. We call ourselves organizers, but we're not organizing.
Right.
We need to go back into these communities. We need to talk to people who are leaders. And I'm not talking about the ones who get in the paper. I'm not talking about people like me. I'm talking about people who are leaders on their block and say to these people, look, we have to engage each other. Bring some people who you have a relationship with, they value you, they trust you. They don't know me, they trust you. Facilitate the meeting so that I can talk to them, we can build, and then we can go somewhere else and build with other people. And because I'm talking to you and I'm talking to this other group, we start to connect and we figure out what you're doing, what I'm doing, and we figure out where the gaps are. I know we know what to ask for. We know what to ask the politicians for. We know what to ask those people who say they have programs in our community that really aren't doing much, who go around and have their galas about what they've done. We know what to ask them for. But until we start to build those connections, we're all just working in our silos. And we're not working against each other, but we sure aren't working with each other.
Well, now, one of the issues that just came up, redistricting.
Yes.
And a lot of folks don't understand, and maybe you could explain how that will affect them in the future. Talk about that a little bit.
So one of the goals of redistricting, and every 10 years after the census, you have to do redistricting because you want to make sure that districts have a certain number of people, that minority communities have the ability potentially to elect what would be called a candidate of choice, meaning they get to elect a minority candidate. Several things are in play here. And so in this round of redistricting, what you have is you have the state Senate districts done, the state House districts done. The issue has become, what do we do about the congressional district? And really it's a matter of the Republicans in the State House want to be able to produce a Republican. This is what it comes down to. And the Democrats have pushed back saying that's what you want to do. And so there's this fight about whether you move Bridgeport into the 3rd district where we are, whether you move New Britain into the 1st district, all of this stuff. And one of the things that's come out of this is the Republicans at one point were saying, well, it makes for minorities, the possibility of actually electing a minority to whatever, the U.S. Congress. Here's an issue that I've put forward. The Democrats are acting like they're better than the Republicans. I'm saying none of you are good, because here's the reality. I'm a Democrat, but I was not born a Democrat. I was born black. And that is always primary for me. I can represent white people, don't get me wrong, but I know what it is to be black in this country. And I know when people simply use you. You have 5 recognized caucuses in the State House. People don't always talk about it that way, but you have 5. 2 Democratic caucuses, 1 House, 1 Senate. 2 Republican, 1 House, 1 Senate, and the Black and Puerto Rican caucus. Now, whenever it's needed, people recognize there's a Black and Puerto Rican caucus, but they do not engage that Black and Puerto Rican caucus until they need the Black and Puerto Rican caucus. So here's what I'm saying. If it was such a concern what Black and Hispanic people needed in this state, if you couldn't get out to the rest of the state, you couldn't engage those people who you see every day to talk about what needs to happen with these districts. So I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican. If you want to talk about leadership and you don't engage the leadership that is the Black and Puerto Rican caucus, to me, you haven't talked about leadership.